Do you truly know how to network? That's on this show right now.
It's On Air Brands Live at Home with Devin Verlaco, Eric Cabral, Josh Terry, Jordan Fraser, and Justin Fraser. Lisa Holbert, Sarah McMillan, Chris Orsi, Jack Turkel, and Jake Resnicki.
Do you really, truly, and honestly know how to network?
I
By
feel
the way,
self-conscious, Eric. I think you're talking to all of us. I'm not sure
talking
anymore.
to you directly, Mr. Carey, Dr. Carey, as we love to call you. So welcome to the On Air Brands Show, each and every one of you. We, of course, have our wonderful co-hosts, Devin, Lisa, and Josh. How are you, team?
Hello.
Excited to be here.
I know. It's going to be a fun show.
Oh, man, I'm so excited about this one because we have an absolutely amazing conversation and guest here with us today that's going to be talking all about the power of networking and strategic networking. She is by far one of the experts when it comes to how to network from a strategic level. And also she's a nationwide real estate investor and educator, and her name is Amy Majori. So we're going to bring her on shortly. But until then, hey, everyone, we are here and we're super excited. We just wanted to give you some updates as to what's going on. Of course, each and every one of you knows that we love to put on events, especially Devin. And we're going to be doing our next PodMax event, which is August 21st. And we've already had close to a dozen people sign up, and it's not even a month. Oh, it's almost exactly a month away. So, folks, jump to podmax.co because things are happening. Tickets are selling really, really quickly. And, Josh, did you want to add anything to that information?
I'd like to add everything to that information if I could be so bold. But yeah, I mean, yes, that information, but I just want to tie in the whole networking thing that Amy is going to be bringing to the table, and we're going to go down the path. Let's not forget a couple of short weeks ago when we had our most recent PodMax Global event, we had Jordan Harbinger as our workshop leader talking all about networking and his version of it. So we got a lot of takeaways on that. And dare I say, Jordan Harbinger is returning. We've already made the announcement. Still so excited for that. He's going to be showing up for a workshop presentation on August 21st. You know what? All about how to be the best guest you can possibly be, how to get improved results from every single podcast guest interview appearance you put yourself on. Who doesn't want that from the guy who has hosted so many episodes, getting himself over 6 million downloads each and every month. I mean, just to wrap your mind around that number is extraordinary. So yeah, networking, a lot of moving parts, and it never gets old.
I love that you brought Jordan Harbinger up because we're so excited to be bringing him back. We don't know exactly the capacity that we're going to be, using and working with him in terms of, we had him as a workshop in the middle of the day where he was really, really sharing a ton. I loved his stories, but then also I loved his concepts and tactics around how to network. So I'm glad we're going to be continuing the conversation here with Amy. So yeah, I mean, do you guys want, without further ado, let's bring Amy on and let's just get the conversation rolling.
That's great.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Amy.
What's up, Amy?
Hey guys, how's it going?
So
morning.
happy for you to be here. Really,
Good
truly.
morning.
I'm a big fan, so it's an honor to have you on the show. Thanks for taking the time out with us.
And let's not
Thank
forget
you.
that Amy has already purchased her ticket to the August 21st. We have to continue to connect those dots, right, Amy? So what inspired you, motivated you to actually join us as a PodMax guest on August 21st?
Well, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here with you guys today. And a lot of it is I really practice what I preach. And I believe in the concept of surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And I've seen so much about you guys. And Devin and I go way back. And we are good friends. And we used to do a little bit of work together. And so I'm just excited to be a part of a community that really helps just support one another and focuses on common goals and values.
Right?
I love it. Amy's been obviously a good friend of mine, but we started off, she was actually my coach, and she taught me so much of what I know, and just so grateful for her. And, reading her book, reading everything that she does, everything that she does in life, she literally practices what she preaches. So I'm so excited that she's going to be a part of PodMax Global. She's going to be a huge asset to our new event.
Oh my goodness.
Thanks,
Especially
girl.
each and every podcaster, if you're watching the Larry Roberts.
I was just thinking of that too.
Andy
Yeah, where's Larry
Wongs and
Roberts?
everyone who watches us and is privy to what Amy's going to share today is going to be salivating, because if she gets on your show, and I'm putting it out there right now, I need you on my show, although I don't record that day, but we'll do that separately.
Get in
Because
line.
I love, so here's the thing. I know, right? I love how true, honest, and raw you are in your content, because there's a certain level of comfortability when you get in front of the camera, you get in front of the mic. Not a lot of people have the skill set where it comes off genuine. And you're one of those personalities, one of those people that you could feel, wow, Amy's for real. She truly, honestly feels like she wants to help by sharing with her experience. And I love some of your content where you get real to the point where you start crying on shows. And that's me. If you can ask anyone on my team, and Devin likes to make fun of me, like, I'll cry on the show. I'm like, that's me, because what that is vulnerability. And it's so powerful when you present yourself in that light as vulnerable and open and transparent, because then it allows and gives permission to the person on the receiving end, whether it's networking in person or through something like this, that allows the conversation to go in places that it probably wouldn't go if you didn't put yourself out there. So you want to speak a little bit about that? And is that by design, or is that just you being you?
Thank you so much for asking. It's so funny because as you share that, and I appreciate the kind, supportive words, I got goosebumps and teary-eyed. I mean, I can cry during an AT&T commercial. But no, you guys,
Perfect.
that is me. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And it's funny, you took the words right out of my mouth, Eric, because I do have a genuine and vested interest in just helping as many people as I can, because I am simply a product of the system that my mentors and coaches created. And it's so funny because so many people see all the good things and all the success, and I get a lot of support and compliments. And so I purposely share a lot of the pitfalls. And I've had success, but I've had way more failures, way more lessons learned. And that's not something that I want to hide, because I'm just a regular person, just like everyone else. And every time I share those pitfalls and mistakes and lessons learned, even huge financial mistakes that I've made, I have found it motivates and inspires other people. And not only does it help them, hopefully not make those same mistakes, but it also assures them that, hey, even though I may have, messed up on this one path, it's okay. I can still, recover and dig myself out of this hole and figure it out. I just got to focus on problem solving and networking, basically strategic networking. So how do I get back to square one?
This is, sorry, Dev. You have a question? Because I was gonna piggyback off what you were saying. But go ahead.
Go.
No, well, I'm curious because I'm wondering if the people at home are wondering, and don't forget your question, Dev, because I want to get to it. Is during all this crazy time, Amy, networking is a powerful tool that we often associate with being live in person, shaking hands, hugging people. So what are you doing now to sort of network in this crazy?
Yeah, what's crazy is again, I have so many weaknesses. Networking just happens to be a towering strength. And I've had so many questions from some of my students lately, that very same question. I can't go meet for coffee. I can't go for lunch. How am I supposed to build my team, raise capital, whatever? And it's funny because before COVID and all this craziness even hit, when I started my real estate business back in like 2014-ish, the two top networking strategies that I implement and teach to my students today have nothing to do with even meeting in person. It's connecting with people strategically on Meetup and on LinkedIn. But again, it's knowing how to target them, knowing what to say, not coming off creepy or weird or annoying. You don't want to taunt your audience. So still till this day, 6, 7 years later, it's the top two strategies that I've used in my own business to raise capital and build my power team. It's Meetup and LinkedIn, which you can do from the comfort of your own home.
I love it. And I think that the part that I was going to say is like, I love that you are so open about, yes, your successes, but also your failures, because something that we talk a lot about on the show is shame. And, when you're talking about your failures, it's shameful. You think like, oh my God, I don't want to tell somebody about my failure because they're going to judge me, or they're going to think different of me, or they're going to think that I don't have credibility or anything. And especially as you're starting out, like, I mean, that was something, obviously you had coached Justin and myself for several years. And that was like the hard part. Like sometimes we'd come to you and we're like, oh my God, do we tell her? Do we like, we screwed this up. Do we tell her? And we told you and you're like, yeah, it's okay. Like, let's fix it. Like, and that was like the coolest part. I think, I mean, there's a lot of cool parts about you, but that was the coolest part too, is that we could bring you anything. And you're like, hey, we're real people. This happens. And let's just make sure you don't make that mistake again. But it's not something to be shameful of. And so I think in networking too, that, you've been able to kind of tie those together.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Something I do struggle with. So here's a massive weakness of mine is sometimes I'm not as empathetic as I can be. Thinking about one of the biggest, I will say, failures, not even a lesson learned. It was a huge uncontrollable failure that I took in my business back in 2016, 17. And when I think about what I experienced and the financial loss that I incurred, and something I still have to be mindful of, and I actually see a therapist about this, is when other people come to me with similar stories, Devin, and like, for example, I lost $3,000 on this real estate deal. Sometimes my response is really like, that's it. That's your problem. You want to hear about a problem? And I have made people cry, and I don't mean to make my students cry. It's all coming from a good place. But the vulnerability is there, and I really do care. But sometimes I have to still work on being mindful and empathetic when people come to me with those types of concerns, because everyone's at a different, place in life. And numbers can mean something totally different from one person to another.
It's interesting that you say that. Matt Higgins brought that up during his keynote, saying, he's like, people's problems or my problems after having cancer, he said, everything seems like it's not a problem. So I see what you're saying. It's like, well, if you put it into perspective, you can overcome that $3,000 loss much easier than whatever your number was.
Sure.
I think so. It's understandable where you would come from that mindset.
Yeah. I agree with you. It's basically, it's your foundation. And what is our foundation? The foundation for all of us is, keeping the end in mind, being optimistic, and just problem solving. Just figure it out. Just, if you problem solve your way through every goal, task, struggle, like, you'll figure it out and you'll come out on top at the end.
When we're talking about networking, do you ever find that whether you're working with a student of yours or just what you see in that space, do you find that the successful entrepreneurs who can really utilize networking, and I'm guessing everybody should be able to succeed from implementing networking, but do you find that it really takes a certain personality and a type of person to really pull it off?
No, I don't. Again, great question. I'm very lucky in the sense where I come from a very unique family dynamic where my mom and her two sisters married my dad and his two brothers. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Oh,
So
cool.
three brothers married three sisters. Yes, we're Middle Eastern. No, it wasn't arranged. It's two totally separate families. And what happened was they all immigrated back in the day from Iran to the US. And they all bought homes within 3 miles of one another in East Lansing, Michigan, because my dad and uncles were doing work for Michigan State. Well, what happened was when they moved here, they all decided to have kids. And so I have 5 double cousins. I have a brother and 5 double cousins, and we all lived basically in each other's homes. Like I still say today at age 42, I have 3 moms and 3 dads, and I'm one of 7 kids. So I share this with you because I had to learn at a very young age how to manage multiple, personalities, relationships. And so for me, yes, strategic networking comes easy, but that's why I teach what I teach. And that's why I've got scripts and systems and templates. I have so many students who are introverts and it just is not natural for them. Still, they're very successful in their business and they're introverts, but their confidence comes from knowing their role. And if you have a script and you just memorize it, but you say it with confidence and you really believe in what you're doing, then networking works for anybody. And one of the things I talk about is just make sure that you're giving value. So when you get out there and network, it's not one-sided. It's how are you helping the people around you? How are you giving back? How can you create win-win situations? So I always say, there's a common phrase out there that I'm sure we're all familiar with, where it's your network that determines your net worth. Yes, sure, absolutely. That sounds great. I believe in that, but I actually reverse it. And I believe that it's your net worth, right? And by net worth, I mean self-worth that determines your network. So why would somebody of influence, someone with maybe more success than you, somebody that you look up to and admire, want to invest in you or spend time with you? Like, what do you have to offer them? And so if you guys keep that in mind as you get out there and network and build relationships, just remember not to make it one-sided.
Love that. So
I love
powerful.
that.
That goes back to Jordan Harbinger's conversation with us about digging the well before you're thirsty. I love that quote because it means that you're already thinking 12 moves ahead. You're already thinking a year to 2 years, 5 years, 10 years in advance, that I am not going to ask you for anything. I'm going to offer value up front for however long it takes until the dividends pay off. And I love thinking about that concept is like, I'm going to dig the well before I need the water. And so when I do come with an ask or I do ask for a favor, it makes sense. Like all of a sudden, you're not showing up and saying, hey, Eric, or hey, Amy, can you help me out with this thing? We've been talking every month. We talk all the time. And now we have a relationship and it's not a favor. It doesn't come out of the blue. So that was one of the strategies that Jordan shared with us. And I know you have 5 strategies with your strategic networking. Is there some of that you can share that maybe parlays or aligns with that concept?
Oh man, there's so much. It's, a lot of what I believe in is it really just starts by making a mindset shift, because even though I can give you a script and you can memorize it and say it with confidence, people are going to quickly start to realize whether or not your intentions are genuine. So you got to make that mindset shift to really believe in what you're doing and who you're talking to and why you're doing it, and remind yourself they're just, regardless of how much success they have, they're just a regular old normal person just like you and I. And if you're able to make that mindset shift and really just be genuine in your initiatives, it's gonna, the law of reciprocity is going to come back to you much sooner.
Yeah. I love that when you talk about, how things always come back to you, right? And just have faith that whatever you're doing, whatever you're putting out there, whatever energy, time that you're investing with someone, that, hey, this is going to pay off. And it's up to you to sort of evaluate down the road if it's paying off in some way for you, that relationship, or if they're actually giving you something in return. So how do you evaluate that? That's a constant struggle for me personally, is like evaluating potential relationships, partnerships, people that you want to bring into the fold. How do you sort of assess that?
Oh man, I am not going to give you a politically correct answer. So
That's fine.
This isn't a PC show. It's
Yeah,
okay.
we love it. Give it to us.
I mean, if you guys start judging. Okay, so I again, my background is corporate America. I come from Dell Computers. I worked in corporate America for 14 years. I was never a leader. I was never a manager of people. I never felt like an entrepreneur. So when I started my entrepreneurship path in 2014 and I was transitioning out of corporate America, I really took the whole concept of surrounding yourself with like-minded people and people on the same mission as you to heart. And whether people view this as positive or negative, it did have a snowball effect on me personally and professionally. I met my husband at a real estate conference. I met my best new girlfriends through real estate, through the communities I was immersing myself in. Now, all that said, I also realized I'm working a full-time job. I'm trying to start this new business. I don't have time for random shenanigans, drama, people who don't add value. Now, value to you may mean something totally different than value to me. Sure, I have girlfriends and guy friends where the value in that friendship is going to have Vietnamese tea. They're in my life for a reason. I genuinely enjoy my time with them, but I immediately was like, I don't have time for drama. It was very hard for me to accept the fact that one of my girlfriends, who was like a best friend to me for 13 years, her and I no longer communicate. And that was the decision. It was actually mutual. But every time she would call, it was drama. I'm like, you're 43, you have a 5-year-old son. I don't have time for this right now. So for me, she added no value. There was nothing constructive behind our relationship anymore. I had to let it go. I shed a lot of tears. I still share the story when I speak. And I've just finally come to the realization that friendships are seasonal and people come in and out of our lives for a reason. So you guys have to ask yourself, what's the value here? What value am I giving and what am I getting, whether it's personal or professional? And if you're not seeing the value, then move on.
I mean, I love you for so many reasons, and I keep saying this, but I just think like you're such a real person. And that was something that, when Justin and I switched over from corporate America into building our business, was the hardest part. Was like, yes, like you're on your journey and you're changing your mindset and who you surround yourself with and all of that, then you kind of lose a lot of friends on the way. And you're like, these were the people that like I've known since preschool. Like I knew that they were going to be in my life for forever. And then like for me, like life kind of hit us sideways and I lost a lot of friends, or quote unquote friends, however you want to say it. And, that was something even I brought to you, and I'm like, this is horrible. It's so sad. And it's, and it's hard because like, you're so excited about the journey that you're on and you want them to be excited for you. And you're like, please, like, just trust in me, listen to me, watch me, like. And it's hard. And you do. I think anyone who kind of switches gears from corporate America to being an entrepreneur kind of can experience that in one way or another.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
No, I went through the same exact thing as you guys, where it was really tough and it took a long time. And I do realize and look back and think about it all the time, how my old friends are no longer each and every day, in my life and having conversations, and I had to sort of get to the point where I'm okay with that, because then, Devin, you were with me this weekend. We're friends. We look where we were. We are in a beautiful winery that we own, and you see, these are friends now. These are people that are on the same path, have the right mindset, the similar mindset, and we're all moving together and helping to grow. And it's okay to shed skin. Like I see that as like, in order to grow, we're shedding skin, and there's nothing wrong with that. And maybe we just have check-ins once in a while. We have those summer barbecues when we can do that again. But it's like, I think it's really just acceptance and letting them know, hey, I still love you, but I've moved on to a different chapter. And there's nothing wrong with you. It's me. It's not you. It's me. And it
you
truly
gave her
is.
the "it's not you, it's me" routine. I invented the "it's not you, it's me" routine.
Harry Met Sally never gets old. But that's okay. And I love that we all have that sort of common bond and experience. So yeah.
Well, and I think too, like it goes along with, like there's two sides to kind of every story. So like, if you look at that and focus on that, that's definitely, it could be sad or it could be like emotional, but then you also look at all the people that you've met since like you kind of made that mind switch. And and just kind of the people that you then surround yourself with. Like, I almost feel like it's so much more intentional, and it's so much more that, like, I love these people and these connections too. Like, like looking at all of the people on the screen right here, like if it wasn't for my mindset switch, like I don't know if I would have ever met any of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so grateful that I have, because I feel like I have deeper connections with all of you in different ways. And it kind of goes with, and I'm like 99% sure, but like networking with a purpose, I'm pretty sure is your title of your book. And it's so true, because like your book is, first of all, amazing, but like it also, like, it really is, you're networking with a purpose. Like, you're networking to meet people, you're networking to find people that are in the same mindset. And like, yeah, I'm sure down the road, like, you can help so many people and they can help you too. And it kind of goes both ways. And especially when you're on that journey, like, that's all that you're really there for. Like, you're there to help each other succeed. And it really is just a mindset shift.
I want to redefine what people think networking is. And Amy, you can help sort of with the redefinition, but I'm just going to tee up what most people think networking is. So a lot of folks, especially in the real estate investing community, think networking is showing up to a real estate event and handing out business cards and maybe following up with a few of them. I mean, because for me, it just the piles. I literally have piles behind me in my desk at home, and try to develop systems where you put an A, B, or C around the ones that you're supposed to contact, right after. But the thing is, it's more than that. It's more than just passing business cards and shaking hands and having conversations and seeing these people at the next event. So, can you share a little bit about how it's more powerful and should be redefined?
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually don't have business cards anymore. I used to have a stack of hundreds. Anytime I get a business card still today, sorry guys, it goes right into the garbage. Because at the end of the day, if you have an impact, that person's going to remember you. And if you're interested in giving your business card to someone, then you take the initiative to reach out to them on Instagram or LinkedIn, or to message them to stay connected. And so it's funny, because I do talk about traditional means of networking being very one-sided. And an example I give Eric is the business cards. Like, stop the business card shenanigans. It's doesn't have the same value and effect as it used to in 1980. Or a lot of people will think that, oh, like, I networked for the month. I went to my monthly, real estate event, for example, and or they're going to the events because they want to build a list to maybe sell a product or service. And again, that's something, if you have or you want to do, fine. It'll happen further along down the road. Where I believe that modern day networking is it's basically what we talked about earlier: giving value, creating win-win situations, and thinking about how you can best serve others. And then that's when the law of reciprocity is going to come back to you. And a concept that one of my mentors shared with me that, I often share with others now is know, like, and trust. So, for example, when I was starting my real estate business and I was in the process of raising private money, I wasn't planning to go down this path right now, but it just happened. So I had two very weird, unethical offers from prospective private money lenders. And I was like, I don't have time for that. Like, I don't care how much money you have. If I don't like you, you're not someone I'm going to do business with. Like, I started my own business for a reason, because I want to enjoy the people that I'm working with, starting with my team. So as you get out there and network, again, regardless of how the person can serve you or vice versa, make sure you like the person, because if you don't like the person, it's not going to go anywhere and it's not going to be constructive. So once you know the person and vice versa, and you like them, then over time you start to build trust. So that comes after multiple phone calls, multiple meetings. But keeping that in mind and thinking about how you can best serve others is more of like the modern day networking, in my opinion.
Let's tie in for a minute the credibility and positioning aspect, because I'm guessing to be the person who is actively networking, right, who is in pursuit, if you will, you absolutely need, because the other person, whether we're on the receiving end or there is the person on the receiving end, they now need to do a bit of due diligence and figure out, okay, who is this person that I am now in touch with or is reaching out? So now if I was getting a note or a message from you, I'd now click a few buttons and go down the path of, okay, is this somebody who I want to spend time with? I want to develop some sort of working relationship with. So you have to have some sort of credibility and positioning already in place, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something for some of you or some of us that may come over time. I do believe that having an online presence is very important because, to your point, Josh, the first thing people are going to do is Google you. They're going to Google you, or they're going to go check out your website. So I have a lot of people who, and maybe it's a generational thing, they're not into social media. Why? Social media is great. Social media is our best friend. I mean, be respectful of what you post on social media. But the first thing, even when you're interviewing for jobs, is LinkedIn. It's Facebook. What is this person? Who are they surrounding themselves with? What are they posting? So having an online presence is huge. And if you're a current business owner, or even if you're about to start a business, I do believe a core website is also critical. That becomes your online portfolio. Over time, you start to put all the different things that you do, that you're a part of, the communities, the giving back, the products, the services. It's just a one-stop shop. And my recommendation is your first and last name.com. So mine's amymajori.com. It's got a little bit about what I do in there across several different platforms. Kind of just my initial thought when it comes to building your credibility.
Yeah.
And Jake even brought up before the concept of jab, jab, jab. And I think that's a good description of it too, is like offer something out, offer something out, offer something out. And then, right hook, it's either ask for something or, help that person, make the connection, make it come full circle. So networking, and sometimes networking is you do that with people that you never actually see face to face. And I think that definition has to change, right? It's not necessarily, and I was curious, Eric, when you asked about, define networking, really it's not, it could be a communication that is not by voice. You can network online, you can network in emails and text messages, and perhaps be as effective. What do you think of that?
I love how there's many facets to networking. You could just throw the word out there and everyone's going to have their own definition of what that is. But one of the main things that I've labeled, I don't know if anyone else, I think I've labeled this, so I'm gonna take credit. Super connectors. Super connectors. I associate you, Lisa, with one of those. I consider myself a super connector, and what that is like we're these massive batteries that once you start to connect them one by one, end to end, it becomes way more powerful in terms of energy. And there's certain ways to become a super connector because it takes a skill set for you to have a conversation with someone. But at the same time, it's very much like chess. You're thinking about all these moves and all these people as the conversation's flowing. Who can I connect Amy to? Who can I connect Josh to while it's going? I'm like, oh, they just mentioned I could see they're having some pain here. I know someone who can solve that if it's not me. And then during the conversation or the email or through conversation online, you make the connection through email or LinkedIn, and not just by saying, hey, here's the person, they're CC, go have fun. Like, I actually take the time to write an email that's very specific to my experience with that person. And then I add all the beautiful links that say, hey, he wrote this book. And then when it says, purposeful networking, and then if there's an actual, they can click that if they want to go down that rabbit hole. So then when people start to see there's a paragraph for Amy, there's a paragraph for this other person, they notice, and I picked this up from our partner, Alina, who's our COO. She is so masterful, and she's a super connector where I adopted exactly what she was doing. And man, can I just tell you, it is so powerful when people see you doing that for them. And it's win-win-win for everyone, because now they're reading this and they're going, I didn't realize Eric loved me like that, and he knows that much about me. And then the other person that's getting into the introduction saying same thing. Whoa, I didn't realize we had all these things together. Thank you. And then you know what? It takes 10, 15 minutes of your time, but you're going to set in that person's mind an opinion of you And whew, it's just so powerful if you can start to connect the dots and people like that, and what it's going to do for you in terms of networking. Really, really powerful stuff. So yeah, super connector, trademarked
Um,
TM.
So I love that, Eric, really quickly, because one of the chapters in my book is it takes 60 minutes to make a friend in 60 seconds. And it's exactly what you said. Go do your due diligence. If you got common connections, call them, try to understand who it is you're going to be chatting with or meeting with in advance. And it's going to just leave a very good impression, and it's going to make that person want to share more with you and get more personal. And that's what's going to take your relationship to the next level and establish trust over time.
And Josh, to your point about credibility, I think that establishes immediate credibility. When someone else trusts that person and you know the person, you automatically give that person some trust that you might not have done if they just came in blindly from somewhere. And that's powerful.
Yeah.
And speaking of powerful, I just want to reiterate to the people listening in, August 21st is our next PodMax Global event. Amy Majuri is going to be a guest. So she's not only going to be in the room with us vibing and networking, she's going to be on 3 or more shows. So if you're a host and you want to participate, you could potentially get Amy or people just like her on your shows. And certainly if you're an entrepreneur with a meaningful message to share who want to be in this room, we've done it. We've done PodMax Global. We've done them in person. We're now doing them virtual. It's established. It is a phenomenal experience that we are obviously excited about, because we know that it over delivers. You walk away with so much. I don't even want to say the word value, because people have literally called it life altering. Okay, so there's something there. Consider it. podmax.co right now.
What's cool about what you just said, Josh, is we've done something, I think this might have been the first time, that we're actually highlighting a guest. Okay, we did it live before where we had some major guests come into the studios in person, and they kind of helped us, through brand association and credibility. So I kind of want to go down this path a little bit, Amy and team, where, we to show everyone who's watching how we do things is we literally posted something on our network that said, hey, look, Amy's coming through. Amy's a powerhouse. Amy's associated with HGTV. Here's all the wonderful things she's accomplished. Don't you want to meet her? So it was kind of a tease for others to realize, wait a minute, I want to be associated with her and PodMax and all the people. So that's a way and a strategy that we love to implement, and probably one of the first times. We haven't done it many times, but I know Dave Van Horn is a good friend. He's a big power player in the real estate notes space, and he came to our event as a PodMaxer, someone to be interviewed, and he was a draw, because now if people see it's brand through association, I'm in good company now that Amy's here. So just letting people know that's a strategy that you can use and implement as well. And Amy, I wanted to ask you, when you joined forces with HGTV, was that by design, or did you know what was to come and how that was going to create a huge brand for you?
No, and this is insane, you guys. The way I got on HGTV was by networking. So here's exactly what happened. I was in the middle of hiring my very first virtual assistant. I will never forget her. Her name was Whitney, and she was living in Nashville. And she was 21 years old. And at the end of our interview, I said, well, do you have any questions? And it was funny because I still struggled with my stubbornness. So she said to me, I do actually. What are your long and short-term goals? And internally, I was like, who does this girl think she is? Not really. But I actually liked it, right? The fact that she was asking me questions. And I had never shared this with anyone, not even the mentors or coaches that I had. I said, well, one of my long-term goals is to have my own home renovation show. And she goes, oh, now this is the power of having goals, you guys, and sharing your goals with other people. Thoughts expand. Whitney said, my mom is a producer at HGTV. Would you like an introduction? No, actually, she said, my mom is a producer on House Hunters. Would you like an introduction? And I said, oh, thank you, but no, because I don't want to be on House Hunters. I want my own show. And I still wasn't thinking big picture. Well, then a couple days later, I was like, Amy, what are you doing? Like, take the introduction to the producer from House Hunters and then see what that leads to. And then it led to a 4-part series. So that was crazy. But had I not had goals and had I not shared them, that wouldn't have happened. So here's what you guys can do. For those of you who maybe you don't have these types of, credibility pieces yet, it's not a big deal. I heard a gentleman that I really look up to and admire, a very successful entrepreneur, Dan Fleischman. Him and I were both speaking at an event back in November. And what he shared from stage was a no-brainer, and I'd never even thought of it. So he said, look, you guys, I've been in dozens or hundreds of publications, even before people knew me. He goes, and all I did was I went to the website, for example, for Entrepreneur magazine, and emailed them and said, hey, this is who I am and what I do. Like, would you like to work with me on a small write-up? He goes, think about it. They need 365 days of content. So just email them and ask them if they'd be willing to work with you. He goes, the majority of the time, they're going to say yes. Even if your name is just referenced in that magazine, for example, that's huge. You can put that on your website or your credibility pieces as seen on, Entrepreneur magazine, for example. So just ask.
Yeah.
They say
I
you
love
don't
that.
you don't ask, you don't get, right?
Yeah.
Very
so
simple,
true.
but true.
And it brings me back to like our last Podmax, how we had Jason Pfeiffer, Entrepreneur Magazine, and then we had Matt Higgins from Shark Tank, obviously so much, like just connecting those dots and then seeing like, what's crazy too, and I don't know, Amy, if you know this, but like our last Podmax event, we had connected these two dots prior to the magazine being released, and then the magazine gets released, and then everyone's on the cover of it, and next there's a spread between Jason and Matt Higgins, and both of them were our keynotes. So it's just like amazing being able to connect the dots and really be open to hearing and receiving that.
It's funny you say that, Amy, Devin, because we're friends with Jason, who's the editor in chief of Entrepreneur Magazine. And Amy, as you're putting it out there, I know he does not like people reaching out to him and saying that they could write articles, unless they offer some value and say Lisa really follows him well, so she knows exactly how he puts these things. But he doesn't like when people just say, "Hey, I want to write for the magazine." It's like, who are you, and where's your credibility, and where's your writing, and do I have time to even read your sample that you just emailed me? So yeah, there's a process, but yeah, you're right though, Amy, in terms of like, just put yourself out there. If it's not them, it's someone, a blog. There's people that need content. Bigger Pockets, always looking for content creators. There's so many communities out there, so many people. Podmax even, eventually, content, blogging, all this stuff. If you could put it out there. And what's cool is a lot of people don't realize they're already creating content through an interview that they did, not as a host, but they guested on a show. You could transcribe that, turn that into a blog, hire a VA, do something where if you're out there and you're putting stuff and you're speaking in front of cameras or mics or people, record it and transcribe it and turn it into more, repurpose it.
You know what's so interesting, Eric? You mentioned you threw Podmax into that conversation about we are sooner or later looking for that kind of content as well. We've had the conversation. The answer is absolutely yes. I use Evernote. I love Evernote as my note-taking app, and I have pages full of in the future how we can bring on or partner with freelance, or call them what you want, hosts and guests who want to contribute unique and original content to us. So we've had the conversation. We already have the idea listed out. It's just a priority thing right now, right? Where is our time taken and best spent? But to flip the table, if anybody came to us and said, you know what? I notice you guys do not yet have a blog content section on your website. I would love to get that going for you. Do you mind if I submit an article that might be valuable to your audience that you might publish on your website, Podmax? Yes, please. Yeah. I would love for somebody to be able to do that, because we do not have the current time right now to focus on that. It's a priority at some time in the future, just not now. But if somebody were to spearhead, and Eric, we talk about this all the time, you have to come to the table. You have to anticipate other people's needs. So everybody knows we're focusing on the event, but see the loophole, see the gap. We don't have content that we are regularly putting out. It's on our plate, but we just don't have the time or the resources right now to get it going. So somebody come to the table and say, I'll write an article or two that is really cool. Here's a sample that I wrote. Here's a paragraph of what it'll be. We'll publish it and we'll get that going, right? That's from the other point of view.
Yeah, I love that.
You
I
know,
love that.
also with Podmax and something, talking about networking, doing a podcast, being on a podcast, whether being a host or a guest, is a form of networking. Because people get to know you in a way that you don't want to spend an hour on the phone with somebody, let's say, to go through that whole story, but you get to know, you feel like you know someone, right, just by hearing their story. Then when you connect on a phone call or an email, it's a different type of connection.
That's even like when Eric and I got connected. I mean, it was the strangest thing. And I mean, I know you guys have heard the story a million times, but
Tell
like
it again. I love hearing it.
my best friend, Jen, who she worked in, my corporate job with me, and she had left, gone to work for Jake and Gino Investors in Tennessee. And somehow or another, Eric was supposed to be on a call with Gino or Jake or one of them. And somehow they couldn't get on the call. And they're like, Jen, you take the call. And so then Eric and Jen started talking, and Jen is just amazing. She just is so friendly. She's always trying to connect different people for different things. Has been in real estate for many years, even when she had her corporate job. And it was just a weird thing that happened. And Eric's like, I need an event person. She's like, well, actually, I know somebody. I don't know if she'd be interested. She just left her job. But call her. And, then she connects me and you. And at first I'm like, come on, I just left event planning. I just left my corporate job. Do I really want this? I want to focus on my real estate business. And honestly, like one call after you, I'm like, I'm in. What do you need me to do? Like, it was like just so fast. I'm like, I love it. Like, and also like, I mean, I had listened to podcasts. I had, followed different podcasts, but I don't think like I ever in my head was like, oh, I'll be on a podcast, or, oh, I'll have my own podcast, or any of that stuff. And obviously now those are bigger goals I have for myself. And so it's just been, it's been really cool. And then to be able to connect the dots and bring my connections or my network into our network and to expand it, I just think it's awesome. And it, we have like John Paul and Jen Josie right now watching, obviously Justin, and then Amy's on. Like, it's just really cool to be able to bring the people that we know and love and have helped us in our journey into this kind of world. And then you just see like the bigger picture. And that goes into, Lisa, you bringing me into like Liz Faircloth and the investor community. And then Amy posting something the other day that said that invest her. And Justin's like, oh my God, how does he know about this? This is amazing. And like, and so we call Amy, like, how do you know that? Like, this is just so like, it's just so cool to kind of bring the people that you know and love and who've helped you along in your journey, and to kind of expand each other's network in that way.
Yeah, I want to sum what you set up all in one word. And I think reputation is key, because if you're networking with people, and yeah, you may vibe and you may connect, but you're going to do your due diligence, like we said earlier. And if your social DNA has some red flags, or you don't have enough out there, well, then people may not want to continue the conversation, or who knows what's going to happen. But it only helps to continue creating content, pushing it out there, talking to people. I love what Jen did. And I think that conversation that I had with her, I don't know if it was me or it was her. I think it was her that basically just asked. She said, what is it that you need and how can I help you? That is such a powerful statement. If you can say that to someone, how can I help you? What are you having trouble with right now? What pain can I alleviate right now? And whether you can do it or not, it's okay. But if you just ask the question, that sets you at a level more than most people. And another thing is to go backwards a little bit. In order for that to be genuine, you have to have an abundance mindset. 100% have to understand a rising tide lifts all boats. And when you adopt that, and it's like a cult to me, that is in my DNA and my core now. When I started to really, truly understand the power of that and walking and talking and vibing at that frequency, my life completely changed. So I just really wanted to stress that. And whenever you meet someone who thinks that way, you already know. You already know.
Yeah.
And Jen was that person. And thank God for Jen, because I met Devin and then I met Amy, and then all this came together, and I'm getting chills. Just getting chills.
He's gonna cry. He's gonna cry. It's coming.
I am gonna cry.
Coming.
It's when I don't get enough sleep. That's when I start getting really emotional.
I mean, I shed my tears all the time. It's just funny when I'm having a conversation with you and it's like a straight conversation and then you start crying and I'm like, wait, but we're talking. Like, it's not, like, we're okay. It's okay. No, I love you. But no, it's so true. I mean, it really is. It really is just the power of connecting. And, I had talked about PodMax to Amy and to, Jen and everyone, prior to, because I know, like, obviously love it. And then it's just so funny because Justin comes through and he goes through the whole thing as if, like, he's a guest, and he's like, everyone needs to be on this. This is so amazing. And he's like, you're waking up early. We're getting on a phone call with John Paul. Like, he's busy all day. Get up early. Like, and it was just like, and it really is like, I mean, he's such a big super connector, and he, practice what he preaches too. And he's just like we're just giving, like, we're very happy and excited for everything that we have right now. Yes, we've worked very hard for it, but I think the biggest thing too is, like you said, give what you know, help the people that, like, are asking you questions too. It's not just about you and you expanding. It's really, you're in it together.
The greatest thing about Justin coming through is, as we know, he was not up until, I want to say 24 hours prior, but I'd probably say 18 hours. He was a last minute pull because of a whole series of other things that wound up happening, as is natural with an event of any kind, right? We had to make some adjustments because things trickled, and then it came to having an open spot for somebody, and we were like, what about Justin? This could be great. So it's just truly incredible how everything happens the way it should in retrospect, but some of those things in real time, we could be inclined to see it as, oh my God, this is going to be a train wreck. Now what? But if you remove all of that from every situation, it'll all work itself out.
And I think
an opportunity.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Jeff.
I know another person watching too is Devin Scott. So shout out to him too. Another person that Justin converted and thought it was like an amazing opportunity for him too. Him and his dad have a mentoring company in the Indianapolis area. So super excited to hear his story to be shared with everyone. So it's just like amazing, like how you can really bring different people together. And I think, Amy even being on like this On Air Brands Live, like I just like, as we're starting to bring more guests in, I'm like, she has to be on, like everyone has to hear her story. She's just so amazing. And, to be able to also kind of give her the platform too, for everything that she's done for me. I'm like, please, everyone hear her. Like she's amazing. So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's so cool because when Lisa and I and Josh first did this show, there was no one. Like there was literally like 1.5 people watching, and then you'd go back a week later.
And it was Josh's dad, right?
It was Josh's dad from Florida, but then like
who literally shows up.
Yes, I love him, my biggest fan. Sorry, Josh.
So it was funny because we knew and trusted in the process and knew that if you build it, they will come, right? Great movie. So when we just kept doing it and showed up each and every week, regardless of how many people were watching, we truly didn't understand or know what would develop a year and a half later, that now it's a platform for our podcasters and podmaxers and guests to come through. And now this is sort of a primer for each and every one who's in the PodMax family to get to know Amy and to see, they didn't ask that certain question. I was really interested in what she said there. Well, you're going to have an opportunity, Larry, or you're going to have an opportunity, Andy, to interview her. So that's really cool. Then also, though, there's an aspect, Amy, I'm not sure if you're aware, is we've nailed virtual networking. So I head up a board of over 1,000 members of RIA, Real Estate Investor Association, and they're still struggling with how do we duplicate networking. And I feel terrible because I'm on the board and here we are crushing it in the virtual event space, and I can't really provide that to them as a vendor. Because because there's, what did they call that? Anyway, so it's interesting because there are ways to do it. We've figured it out, and Amy's going to get to really, really experience. And I'm looking forward to everyone else being able to network her at an intimate level virtually and figure out, oh man, how can Amy be in my life more? That's what I love. Whenever I meet people such as yourself, Amy, and everyone here, obviously, because they're in the world with me in this. So it's about like, I love this person. And anyone who knows me, like I fall in love right away. It's like, forget honeymoon, let's just fall in love, let's get married. And it's about
And then I have to
have a
shake
problem
you
with
and
that.
snap you up,
Wait,
right? Stop it.
stop it.
Snap out of it. Airplane reference.
I literally
Love that.
I asked someone to marry me when I was traveling abroad. Anyway, so Jane, don't listen, don't watch. But
Love
yeah.
her though. She's the sweetest.
Yeah. Thank God I married her instead. But it was about like figuring out this is a person I want in my life. And how can we do that? How can we create that so that you want me in your life and we can all sort of build and grow and create and experience it together? And that's what I feel we put together with PodMax as this. And it wasn't by design. It's really, I noticed when I go to good events, it's the DNA of the team putting it together. It's the DNA of the founders. It's the DNA of the company that they've created. And that's what PodMax has become. It's this
Culture.
community of people. Thank you. A culture that we've created of like-minded individuals that just want to grow, love, and share life.
Well, and Eric's kind of, going to go there too. But like, I think it's amazing too. We had James Orsini as one of our keynote speakers, and he's, Gary Vee's right hand man. And then for him afterwards to say, like, I don't know how you guys are running this event, but it's amazing. And like, can we shadow you? Can we ask you questions of how you're running this event? Because I want to do the same. We have an event coming up and I want to mimic exactly what you're doing. And, obviously shout out to you for your team and for who you surround yourself with to be able to get there. And I mean, that's the biggest compliment in and of itself.
And then he showed up. Then he came back. Remember? He just popped back in through the back door and said,
Like,
hey,
"Hi,
I'm
guys."
here.
Like-
He wasn't the keynote. He wasn't like being interviewed. He just showed up to continue to watch what we're doing, which was really kind of scary. Oh, and here's the cool thing, folks, if you don't know. Matt Higgins, the day of PodMax and weeks to follow, put our URL on his profile. That was bizarre. Remember, all of a sudden it was like, Matt Higgins, check me out, www.podmax.co. And we were all like, oh my God, furiously texting each other. Is this is this a mistake? What is he doing? Oh my God, what does it mean? Like it was
Don't
sort of like,
stare at it.
but it's like,
no way.
she loves me. She truly loves me. It's like, oh my God, what's happening? But he finally took it down. But yeah, it was up there for a long time. And God knows what that's going to do for us. That was amazing.
That's super cool. I'm so excited. I'm like, what new networking strategies am I going to learn during the event on the 21st? I'm super excited to see what you guys have done. It sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Well, thank
we're
you.
pumped.
That's
We're
good.
pumped.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the top of the hour here, folks. Is any last words, any last thoughts? Josh, Carey, Lisa, Dev?
I wanted to say also too, I mean, love Amy's book and Jake's done a great job too of kind of keeping up with everything. So Amy's website and her book are also linked in the stream too. So be sure to check it out if you haven't already. Obviously love it. But definitely check her out. Everything that she's about, I've always just loved and admired her. So just following and supporting everything she's doing too. So it's amazing. And just bringing her into this environment is definitely exciting.
Yeah, networking with a purpose. Look for the book. The links are in there.
I'd love to learn from the viewing audience, as they're affectionately called, right? The viewing audience. I don't know what that means. But I'd love to learn from people tuning in the comments. Let us know what your big takeaway is. What resonated most? What hit home?
Yeah. Good stuff. So we're getting there. Thank you, Amy, so much for being a part of the family now. And being a
Thank
part
you,
of this
guys.
show. Now you're going to be a part of multiple shows, tons of shows. We're so eager and excited to share you and your story with the whole community, and everyone's just going to love you. So we're looking forward to it. August 21st. Get your seat now because they're hot cakes, and we're so excited. We're really talking to and figuring out who the keynote's going to be. Excited that Jordan Harbinger is back because I want to hear the second kidnapping story. And Amy, he was kidnapped not once, but twice.
Unrelated.
okay.
Unrelated. In different
truly-
countries. Yeah.
And he told us the full
Like a
first
real
story and then
kidnapping.
he stopped it.
Oh yeah, like a locked up abroad, like taken hostage, and yes, like fighting for his life out of a car. The car locks were like nubbed off, so he couldn't. Yes,
A 1973 Volkswagen Beetle. Yeah.
a real
That's
kidnapping. Yeah, twice in two different countries, unrelated.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
He's
like
got-
that movie, The Hostel.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Maybe he
yeah.
has a kidnapping face. He's just got a face that kidnappers love. It's like, who
Oh
knows?
God! Now we got to edit that out for the replay in case he listens in.
But the
What are you,
best part is
crazy?
he
we,
went-
we love him.
Yeah,
I
but
know.
he went into such detail in the first one, and he's like, "Yeah, and it happened again in another country," and we're like, "Well, but tell us that one. We want to know."
Yeah,
In
we'll hear it in
Serbia.
this one.
We heard the Mexican kidnap. Now we're gonna hear the
Yeah.
Serbian kidnap.
He admitted that he was wearing chinos and like Banana Republic outfit. So yeah, he was a mark from the day
Gave it
one.
away.
He gave it away. He's like, this guy looks like he has money, but yeah,
but he
folks,
didn't.
But he didn't. But he did, didn't he? It's like,
Yes. He's like, come on, I'll pay you. And the guy's like, I thought you told me 10 minutes ago you had no money. Right.
But yeah, folks, tune into that because I don't know where that's being shared, Josh. That's going to be on our Podmax. If you're a member, if you're
It's
a part
already
of the
there,
family,
of course.
it's up there. Go watch it if you missed it.
In your members area. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, watching, and loving and liking, subscribing. Please tell all your friends and let them know that we are here. We're here to share, we're here to love, and we're here to offer value in your life. And with that, we'll see you next week. Same time, same bad channel.
You are now tuned in to the On Air